Okay, thanks. Councillor Breslin, do you have anything else?
That's all. Thank you.
Councillor Bruni?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I guess question to our fire chief regarding the digital radio system, agenda 7.8.
7.8.
This new system that you want to install, is it fairly familiar with other fire services in Ontario?
Through you, Mayor Provenzano, to Councillor Bruni, yes, it is. It's a very common system in the province. And as far as local comparators, Sudbury will be encrypted in digital in the next 30 days. North Bay is already on this system, as well as Thunder Bay.
Would our police services and the EMS have the same system?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to Councillor Bruni, police services is on this system. EMS is a digital system, and I was informed through the chief of EMS today that they actually thought by now they'd be encrypted, but they expect in the very near future through a program with the ministry that they'll be encrypted as well.
Thank you. And will there be any monthly or yearly support fees to keep the system operating?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to Councillor Bruni, currently there won't be any additional cost of this. However, we do have in our approved budget a maintenance program for our existing radios. So if anything were to happen with damages, whatnot, it would be captured in the approved budget moving forward.
Thank you. And my final question is, I am glad a local business is the successful bidder, but my question is, why only one bid coming in?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to Councillor Bruni, is my understanding through the procurement process, it was publicly advertised on the city website and also on the Merrick system. Unfortunately, I don't know why we didn't get any more offers or tenders for this program. It'd be nice to see a healthy competitive bid, but unfortunately, we only got the one offer.
Thank you. Thanks.
Councillor Scott?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you, Mr. Mayor, to Chief Johnson, similarly to what Councillor Bruni was asking about the police and EMS. So the police are on the same system. I just mind my ignorance. I don't know how often communication between the two needs to happen, but will the police units be able to decrypt the fire communications and you'll be able to communicate?
Through you, Councillor Scott, or sorry, through you, Mr. Mayor, Councillor Scott. It's our understanding that there's a patch process that can take place between the two agencies, so there's interoperability.
Okay, and just because it's a large expense, do we have any sort of guarantees built into the pricing or contract around specifications and testing? Like, are we doing a pilot, for example, to make sure it's going to work in our community? The range is right. I've done a lot of research on the P25 after this report came out, and I guess one concern is sometimes with analog, you know it's going to drop the signal, but with digital, it just goes from working to drop. So are we going to be doing some sort of trial just to keep ensure rather that firefighters are safe and the community is safe?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to Councillor Scott, we've done our testing prior to putting this out to tender and through the procurement process, as well as before coming to you back in the capital budget process to make sure that we were chasing the proper system for our community. And we found that the P25 system will work well for us as much as it does for the police service.
Great. That is everything I've got. So thank you.
Anybody else on 7.8? Seeing none, Councillor Bruni, do you have any other matters?
Couple more.
You go ahead.
Agenda 7.10, purchase of the one motor grader. First of all, it would have been nice to see the comparison of the purchasing and the leasing would be very helpful. I guess my only question is why only one bidder again on this? Mr. Girardi.
Through Mr. Mayor to Councillor Bruni, quite frankly, it may be a supply issue. It's very difficult, like with every piece of equipment right now to get it. So that could be it. But quite frankly, it is tendered similar to fire. It's put out in media, and this was the only one that came through. We're satisfied with the unit. We've had this unit. We have this unit going right now. And as far as lease to purchase, we leave that to finance. Perhaps the CFO can comment on that, but we usually have finance review before we proceed with going forward with either a purchase or lease.
To you, Mr. Mayor, to Councillor Bruni, the lease versus buy isn't necessarily always provided to council for, we do an analysis and we find the best value through the procurement.
Okay.
Councillor Shoemaker on 710.
Yes, thank you. Just with respect to the last sentence of the financial implications paragraph, it says here, there's a shortfall in the budget from financing this internally, as well as some other ones we bought. And then it says it will be assessed in the 2023 winter control budget and an operating increase added if required. Just clarifying, does that mean an operating increase will be requested of council if required, or are you just adding an operational increase into the budget?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to Councillor Shoemaker, this would be a contractual obligation if required, because we've already approved the internal financing of all of these graders from 2020 and 2021, as well as the one that's on tonight's agenda for 2022. Just of note, in 2021, we're just completing the year end right now, and the winter control budget, even with the shortfall for those other graders that were purchased in previous years, the winter control budget came in basically on budget, but as you know, it was a very mild winter through 2021. So that's why we really want to evaluate it in 2023, along with the 500,000 that was previously removed from the winter control budget. So we have to bring all the factors together and see if it can be accommodated within the budget in 2023 or not.
It looks like the CIO has something to add.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to Councillor Shoemaker and the rest of council, I just remind you that we will also be doing a study this year. It's the second part of the winter control study, which will look at both how we do winter control and also how we budget. So it will be tied up as or assessed as part of that study as well.
Answers your question.
Well, that clarifies that there's an explanation there, but I'm still confused on whether or not this is an automatic increase in the budget if it's required.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to Councillor Shoemaker, my understanding of the CFO's response was that it would be included in the adjustments that are brought forth as cost of maintaining services. So it would be an automatic increase rather than just an operating increase request brought to you.
Right. Okay. Thank you. That does clarify it.
Okay, anybody else in 710? Councillor Bruni, your next one.